Boxing 2.0. It is Thursday. We are about 48 hours roughly from undisputed at lightweight. And this is HCPX. This is a big fight week. I love this card. Haney Lomachenko. We talked about that, and I want to talk betting odds, Compubox. We'll bring up the stats, all that good stuff. Also, I wanted to talk about Muratala versus Nakathilia, which is going to be a banger of a fight. Oscar Valdez versus Adam Lopez too, and Nakatani versus Maloney. And I want you to know when Maloney falls, D-Style falls with him. When Maloney falls,
you don't fall. When you're from the land down under, you don't fall. You know what I mean?
You are the face of Australian boxing when it comes to America. You are like,
I'm getting there.
Here. And when Maloney falls to Nakatani, you fall with him.
Come on.
You fall with him.
The Nakatani name's been losing. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is, but we'll get there for sure. Shout out to everybody, by the way. Put your X's up.
Put those X's up. Get those likes up. And if you're watching a little bit of a different time today, so we might not catch everybody, but if you're watching this live, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're archiving this, make sure you're leaving your comments below, as everybody has been comments.
Yeah, just make it when we guys come in the chat. Let's start making it happen. X in a glove, X in a glove every time.
X in a glove. Let's go, Chauncey Pearls, Wheelchair Man, John, Nando, all you guys in the building. So, Haney Lomachenko. Here's what I don't want. Okay, I like both fighters. I simply want a great fight. And what I don't want to see, what I'm seeing this week is what I don't want to see. Look, as boxing fans, just enjoy a good thing when it comes along. You don't need to be doing these things, spreading these narratives for these fighters, because both of them are playing mind games, D-Style. Lomachenko's out there saying his stuff. Haney's out there saying his stuff. Oh, you're going to hit in the clinch. You're a dirty fighter. And, I never said you were old and yada, 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 yada. At the end of the day, let the narratives go. We've talked about this. There are X factors. There are wild cards, and that's different than excuses. Yes, Lomachenko's older. He's 32 years old. That's natural. He's fighting a younger fighter. Yes, he's smaller than Devin Haney, but Devin Haney likes using his size at 135. Lomachenko likes being the smaller, quicker guy, using his angles. He's been at lightweight. This is his 9th, 10th fight at lightweight. So both guys have enjoyed these advantages. Both guys have natural disadvantages going into this fight. At the end of the day, the fight is happening at the right time. All right. Sure. I hope that translates to pay-per-view buys. It doesn't, whatever. We move on. But what I'm saying is, I don't want to hear this stuff out there that I'm hearing that, Lomachenko could have fought him 3-4 years ago. And, Devin Haney's actually been aging out Lomachenko. No, these guys, neither one of these guys have a track record of ducking anybody. Haney has been moving correctly. Haney has taken the Lomachenko fight. Haney has taken chances with his career in order to get to undisputed at 24 years old. And Lomachenko has a clear track record of fighting the tough fights out there as well. So I don't want to hear this. This guy was ducking. This guy was ducking. Guys, enjoy the fight. This is going to be a hell of a matchup. I hope it translates to being a hell of a fight, an entertaining fight. That doesn't always happen with pay-per-view matchups. That doesn't always happen with top matchups, 1 versus 2. But what we have here is a quality, meaningful matchup happening at the right time. Enjoy it. Don't be so jaded. Just enjoy the fight. I'm tired of the narratives coming into this fight. Both have advantages. Both have disadvantages. We're going to see who's better at this point in time and let it play out. Just let it play out.
You know what's crazy, Calix, is that a word that we don't see a lot today is or hear about really is strategy, right? And everyone's kind of accepted certain things to be true, and the most common one is arm length advantage, right? That's how they word it. That's how it's phrased. That all that comes from HBO, right? Because that's how Lampley would say it. The age advantage goes to if a guy's younger, that's it. He has an advantage by definition, no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. And while those things could be true, you could even say they're true most of the time. They're not true all the time. It's not even at least like it's not 60%.
I'd actually argue that guys don't know how to use their size and their height anymore.
So well, what I'm trying to get at is where I'm going at, because you were touching on. So Loma's going to have his advantages. Haney's going to have his advantages. People are so caught up with narratives in this fight that they're bringing up a fight from over 10 years ago in Canelo versus Floyd to make a point. Mm-hmm. Well, if Floyd wasn't old, why is Loma old? And he's 3 years younger. Like, okay. Like, he's the same age that Canelo was. Like, just because that doesn't mean the situation is the same, right? It's like two different scenarios. But nonetheless, like, why are we even doing that? Why aren't we instead talking about the fight, right? I loved how Matchroom, you know, in their great posters that they have, by the way, I got to give them credit, use the chessboard, right? The chessboard is their ultimate, like to me, that's the ultimate, like when you say chess match, you're talking about a matchup. You're talking about two guys who are going to be using their brains and they're going to be using tactics and strategy in a ring. I want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about Canelo Floyd when it comes to this fight. It's irrelevant to me. Mm-hmm. All right? It's that doesn't matter to me. That fight already happened. I want to talk about this fight. I don't want to talk about how little Lomachenko is. All right? Lomachenko's been fighting at lightweight.
He's a lightweight.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about, Devin Haney might be weight trained. He's choosing to fight at the weight class. It is weight. He may or may not be. Who knows? But he's the undisputed champion at the weight class. He's decided to fight in it. It is what it is, right? So I want to like this is why I wish this will never happen for many reasons, but God, do I wish we just had the original weight classes. I wish we did. Because when you look at when they had same-day weigh-ins and they had 8 weight classes, and you go back, Calix, you go back to those weigh-ins. You guys could do it. Go to BoxRec. Look at those old fights from the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, the 30s. Go look at those fights. Look at the scale. Robinson weighed in like 149 soaking wet when he fought for the middleweight championship of the world. Mm-hmm. There was big middleweights, small middleweights, just like we have big heavyweights, small heavyweights, right? And then you look at their fight. In some fights, they would come in a little heavier because they felt they needed more power. And other fights will come in a little lighter because they felt they needed a little bit of speed to catch up to the quote-unquote smaller guy, right? There was strategy. Now, they still do it, but it's done unofficially, right? Now they do the weight at the scale. They weigh on the dot. Like, you know what I mean? Like or close to the dot, and then they rehydrate. None of these dudes, none of them weigh the same on fight night because none of our bodies and metabolisms are the same. We're not the same. There's not a group of human beings that are 135-pound lightweights. You know what I mean? And then you outgrow that and jump up 5 pounds. You know, then you become a super lightweight. That's not how it works. All right. These guys are cutting weight as much as they can, and once you're not able to cut a certain amount of weight, they move up a weight class. But what they're doing, Calix, is they're cutting less weight. They're not moving up in weight. They're cutting less weight. They're still the same human being in the ring, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's just the way it is. Now, granted, yes, there's a thing called man strength. Yes, around your 30s, you start to naturally bulk up a little more, right? Like so there are those variables, which is why, you know, guys are not able to cut as much weight at some point. But at the end of the day, I just wish we were back to go. We would be talking about strategy and what can Loma do to use his advantage, right? Like Canelo, when he first went to 168, these guys didn't know what to do with him. Callum Smith didn't know what the fuck to do with the guy right here, right? Callum was like, what the fuck do I do here, right? He's punching my fucking bicep. I'm fucking, like, I don't know what to do right now, right? Caleb Plant didn't know what to do. He couldn't hold Canelo, right? So in this fight, what did I keep hearing when Plant was able to hold Benavidez but not Canelo? I kept hearing people say, well, that's because Canelo is shorter, he's stockier, so it's harder to hold him. Sounds like an advantage to me. Mm-hmm. Sounds like he found a way to make it an advantage, okay? So at the end of the day, Lomachenko, being maybe not the quote-unquote tallest, right, lightweight in the world, it's going to be harder to hold him. It's going to be harder to clinch him than it was a Linares or something like that. And maybe he could use that to his advantage. Strategy, people.
Mm-hmm. Strategy will be the dictator here. And, you know, it's like Roberto Diaz said yesterday. I asked him, were people just reading too much into catch weight rehydration clause? He said, yeah, you know, IBF does it all the time. We were fine with it. Everything was fine. Ryan Garcia at the end of the day lost the fight because he lost to a better fighter. That's it. Mm-hmm. And 10 years from now, nobody's going to remember these narratives coming into this fight. Nobody's going to remember that the weigh-in is 9 a.m. instead of 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. People aren't going to remember that. Okay. And at the end of the day, I don't think Lomachenko cares when Devin Haney weighs in. He's going to come in 150, 155 for the fight. Like I said, that's not what Lomachenko's looking at. He's used to fighting bigger fighters. He knows. He said it. I know Haney's going to hug. I know about Haney's jab. Everybody knows about Haney's jab. At the end of the day, what's he going to do to offset that? That's the question. And will he be able to? We've seen this from Lomachenko, how he breaks the clinch, right? And the reason that Haney, people are getting frustrated with Haney, but this is mind games. Haney and his team knows they don't want Lomachenko fighting on the inside. So what are they out there saying, D-Style? They're pushing this narrative that Lomachenko's a dirty fighter on the inside. He fights on the break. He punches on the break. He's saying that because he's projecting his stuff onto Lomachenko. He doesn't want Lomachenko fighting on the inside because Haney doesn't want to fight on the inside. Haney's one of these new age fighters that is not concerned with fighting on the inside. Mm-hmm. Newer age fighters don't like inside fighting. They don't want to assume that risk. Particularly bigger guys, particularly longer guys. They want to break the action on the inside. They want to tactically clinch and break up the fight, particularly against shorter, faster, quicker, higher output guys. And that's what Devin Haney is banking on in this fight. He knows he needs to chop the fight up. He knows he needs to. Somebody was saying in the chat, it's going to be a hug fest. This is what you're going to be hearing in your head during the fight. I love you. You love me. We're he's
like,
gonna be a
like my
he's gonna want to hug everybody.
Like Nancy used to say, right?
Everybody Saturday.
And Nancy used to say, he used to call him a huggable Haney.
And that's the thing. Like I like Devin Haney. I like that he wants to fight. I like he wants to be great. I like that he takes chances on each other, on himself. Necessarily, I don't like his style, though. And he wants to chop up this fight, and it could play out one of two ways. He could be so concerned with Lomachenko brings to the table that he just tries to yuck this fight up so bad that it becomes such an ugly fight. Or Lomachenko is so great at what he does that he doesn't allow it to be that type of fight. And here's what you saw. Like, there's a narrative going on around there that Haney's a boring fighter. And the Kambosos fights were boring. However, the Linares fights had his moments. The Jojo Diaz fights had their moments. Why? Because those guys did not allow themselves to be clinched. They didn't allow themselves to just be jabbed and hugged to death. They forced a fight in spots. Most of the fight was Devin Haney fight. Lomachenko needs to make this a Lomachenko fight. And I keep going back to this is I don't want to hear 4, 5, 6 round that Lomachenko's in there downloading data. The Matrix is in there downloading data. He's in there playing 8D chess. I don't want to hear it. Lomachenko needs to hop on Haney, jump on him quickly. Jump on him early. I don't want to hear that you're an older fighter. The bigger fighter's going to wear you down. Look, if Devin Haney has no power, you shouldn't be worried about him knocking you out late in the fight. Hop on him, bank early rounds, and make Haney try to catch up to your output, right? Make Haney try to speed himself up. That's what I want to see from Lomachenko.
Well, I have a couple questions for you.
Don't allow yourself to be clinched. I've broken down the film of how he pulls back both of his arms like this, breaks out of the clinch, and goes right to work. He needs to be doing a lot of that.
Look, I don't think we're gonna. I know somebody in the chat put, and Paula said there's gonna be more hugs in a Mexican family reunion. I was in a family reunion on Sunday. It's a lot of hugging. You know what I mean? Every tia wants to hug you. They want to hug you twice. They're like, did I already hug you? Mijo, come here. Let me hug you again, just to be sure. You know, so that's a lot of hugging. But look, I do think they could work against Haney, right? Mm-hmm. You could do things to offset a clinch and use it, because while your opponent's trying to clinch, especially the way Haney does it, so there's a difference between the way Haney does it and even like a Bernard Hopkins should do it. Hopkins will hold an arm and he'll still punch you with a free arm, right? Rough you up. Haney doesn't really rough anybody up. He's just holding and hugging, right? And what he's doing is he's stopping the action, which is why a lot of people don't like his style, right? I don't like his style. I think it's boring as shit, if I'm honest. And I think most people agree with us. But there's a lot of, I just think there's a lot of boxing fans out there that don't want to admit it, but it's whatever, right? No, I love it. It's a sweet science. Okay, whatever you say, right? But here's the thing. There's a lot of things Haney does that you could say is quote unquote bending the rules, like bending like low below the waist, this all types of stuff. But here's the thing. I think the whole you're dirty, you're a dirty fighter. I think that's to get in Loma's head. Yeah. And I think it's working. Yeah. Because why is Loma even entertaining it? Like, well, what fight? What do you mean? Like, he's almost insulted that he's being called dirty. He probably prides himself in not being dirty, and then he's being called dirty, right? And we can all kind of relate to that. Like, when you pride yourself in, like, not being a certain way, and then somebody accuses you of that, you kind of want to know, like, because you kind of know you're not. So you're like, okay, well, when did I do it? What do you mean, right? But this is not the time to do it, like at all. If I was Loma, I would just tell him, okay, fine, whatever you say. You know what I mean? Like I'll see you on Saturday. He's having a conversation.
Wouldn't you flip it on him though? Or wouldn't you say, yeah, but you don't fight at all. You clinch. I want to see you let your hands go. Like, try to flip it on him a little bit. But Lomachenko, I don't think knows how to.
But I have a couple questions for you. Has Haney ever fought anybody as fast as Lomachenko?
No.
Overall speed. Linares' hands is probably faster, but besides that.
Yeah, Linares does in spots. Linares' issue is he can't maintain it. That's always been his issue. We've always said
is there anyone in Haney's resume that you think Loma would sweat it, like have a hard time beating?
No.
In fact, one of Haney's best wins, Loma stopped him in Linares. Right. And it was a little earlier. It was a couple years before that, so it was a better version of Linares, right? Objectively speaking, all right? So I look at that, and I have been on the fence about this fight for months. Right. When it was announced, I was on the fence, and now I'm still like on the fence. I'm leaning Haney, right? But like, I swear to God, it's going to be a very controversial decision because there's things that Haney. I think what the bookies are missing here is the bookies do triangle theory, like they do. Yeah. And it's usually where the bookies get it wrong, and that's where your upset picks come in. That's where you got to look for. And where they're getting it wrong is this. The bookies are just looking at it for, well, he lost to Teofimo. That was about 2-3 years ago. Teofimo lost to Cambozas. Haney beat Cambozas convincingly twice. So, yeah, I mean, the guy that beat the guy. So this is just a routine fight for Haney. I think they're just seeing it in that way. And I think maybe they're taking into account the age of Loma, and maybe they're thinking he's a little past it. Right? Maybe the Jermaine Ortiz fight is playing a role. Maybe they weren't that impressed with that performance.
He definitely is. It definitely is.
But the thing is, honest to God, bro, I don't think he needs to worry about the power. Haney cannot punch hard. I'm seeing people picking Haney by stoppage, but those same people have been picking Haney by stoppage for the last 5 fights. They pick Haney by stoppage every fight. It never happens. You know what I mean?
The difference with the Teofimo and the Salido losses was what? Salido roughed him up, right? He introduced him to the professional ranks, and Teofimo learned quickly that I can't fight how I did in the amateurs, right?
Yep.
This is a different type of dude, and these are different type of fighters. Guys can offset what I do just by being rough and being vets. Teofimo used his angles, but he also used his power and speed. And a lot of the shots Teofimo was catching Lomachenko with the first 7 rounds and the 12th round, which Teofimo's best round of his career, in my opinion, the 12th round, were just shots that Lomachenko didn't see, but they had pop on them. And I do think Haney has a sharp up jab, and he uses it as a power shot, and he can use that right hand straight right as a power shot. But to me, I don't think Lomachenko is going to be sweating that power at all, because I just don't think the power is going to be there. For Haney, it's going to be a chop it up type of fight. He's got to chop up this fight, and you can read into what he's saying this week on what type of fight he wants. He wants this to be not an inside fight. I want to use my range. Anything in the middle, I want done. I don't want any part of it. I don't want any part of the mid-range game of Lomachenko. I don't want him hitting on the hold in order to get out of that and get his shots off. I want to be a lightweight Vladimir Klitschko. And if Haney's going to win this fight, he's got to be a lightweight Vladimir Klitschko.
Oh, for sure.
And I just go back to this. One last point is Lomachenko is a guy who in the past has shown he can learn from a loss. Salido, 3 months later, he fights Gary Russell Jr. He learns from it. But will he learn from that Teofimo loss and say, I can't start off slow again? Nakatani, he didn't start off slow. Comey, he didn't start off slow. Now, last fight, Jermaine Ortiz, he started off slow, and he never got in a rhythm. Which Lomachenko we're going to see? If he's starting off slow and Haney gets in his rhythm, then we've got ourselves likely a close Haney decision, because by the time he warms up, Haney's banked a lot of rounds, right?
I just don't think that's going to happen again. That is an outlier. But that's not how Loma fights. Now Loma was always doing that. Like this whole, he was not downloading data and waiting for anything. He was being very precautious because of the power of Teofimo, right? That's what it was. Like people need to accept that, and I think even Loma knows that. People just bring that up because Timothy Bradley said something about downloading data, and all of a sudden they just ran with it. Yeah. That's not what it was, right? Now, was it a strategic mistake? I believe it was, right? Yeah. But I'm sure he learned from it, and it is what it is, right? But the attributes of Teofimo are different to Haney. Haney's not a guy like Linares kept coming forward against Haney. Linares has been put out, bro. Linares has been completely lit up multiple times, and he's been stopped in multiple ways. One punch knockouts and cuts.
Linares hurt Haney in the 11th round.
Yeah, and he hurt Haney. Haney was the one surviving. So when I keep hearing he's going to wash Loma, Haney doesn't wash guys. He didn't wash Camboso, JoJo.
He didn't watch JoJo. No,
he didn't watch JoJo. He did win most of the rounds against Cambosos, but I'm telling you right now, man, if people watch that fight, the clinching played a vital role. It just did, right? And Cambosos didn't know what to do about the clinching. And when there wasn't clinching, it's like Cambosos was just that inch, that half a second behind for the whole fight. It just makes it look so one-sided, but he was almost there. Can Loma make up for that half a second? Yes. Loma's faster than Cambosos, and he's more polished. He has better footwork and he has better technique, and he's faster than Cambosos. Yeah. Right? Cambosos is still that dude to me that was struggling with another defensive fighter in Lee Selby. Right? Didn't know what to do with Lee. Does anybody really believe Lee Selby would do anything to Lomachenko? No. Mm-hmm. So Kamboja's Achilles heel was already defensive fighters.
Yeah.
He already had trouble with defensive fighters right before that, right? And then he fought Teofimo, not a defensive fighter. Plus, there was some stuff going on with his chest and his breathing, and I do believe that played a role, right? Not Kamboja's fault. He just showed up to fight, but he did fight. He did have a Devin Haney had the undisputed served to him in a silver platter. Okay, a lot of fighters can't say that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This isn't exactly Bernard Hopkins he beat like a Jermaine Taylor did. All right? This isn't exactly like Canelo fighting 3 undefeated champions to become undisputed. This isn't even like if EJ Errol Spence does it. He had to fight an Ugas. He had to fight certain guys, right? Yeah, he's got to be Crawford. So like, it's still a great accomplishment. You're the man. You're undisputed, but the Kamboja's fight didn't do it for me. Like, there's still a lot of question marks.
You need to see more, and this would give you that. And that's fair. That's fair. Now, James says, why do people pretend like Loma didn't have shoulder surgery today? You know, it happened. We understand. And that's
no one's pretending.
Then this is the thing we have to throw in the hopper, right? It's how much do we read into the loss? How much do we read into the war playing a factor for the Jermaine Ortiz fight? Or, you know, even if he goes in there with the healthy surgery, does it really factor in? You know, it's a lot to play into, you know.
So look, let me say this. Let me try to work this right, because it's information I have in confidence, right? Mm-hmm. I know a fighter that had shoulder problems. Okay, the fighter wasn't the same, and I know this for a fact, right? What I will say is this: while I do believe Loma's shoulder injury was legitimate, it was not to the degree of some other fighters I've known anyway, or even fighters that we've known in history. Like, it wasn't to a degree that we've seen before. It's not like he needed shoulder replacement surgery. Okay, it's not like it was legitimate, but let's if we're gonna play that game, then Teofimo had a fucked up leg in that fight.
It's like Nando saying in the chat, nobody comes in 100%. It's a hurt game. And when you come into the fight, I mean, Kelly Pavlik was talking about having the flu when he fought Bernard Hopkins. You fight the fight. I mean, we got to go off of what we saw. Mm-hmm. You know, so it is what it is. Do you guys think that any chance Loma can hurt Haney and possibly stop him maybe late? Do you see that type of fight playing out? We've seen Haney against Linares get hit late. Is this?
Yes, the answer is yes. He stopped. Bro, a power puncher in Verdejo couldn't stop Nakatani. You know who stopped Nakatani? Didn't even go to the body. Lomachenko with sharp, crisp punches. What hurt Devin Haney? It was the thudding punches from other fighters or from Jojo, who did hit him with some good thudding shots. It was a sharp, quick punch that he didn't see coming from Linares. Right? The difference between Linares and Lomachenko is like that Rivera dude that used to be the closer for the Yankees. He'll close the show. Okay? Mm-hmm. He's got you hurt, he'll close the show.
Comey, he didn't, but he was messing around in that fight. That was unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. And one more thing. Break doesn't mean stop fighting. It means stop holding.
Protect yourself at all times, too, by the way.
But it means stop holding. So the Haneys know if the ref says break, that he could legally strike when he lets go of the hold. And on the inside, those long arms are not an advantage. They know this. If the ref wants you to stop the action, he'll say stop, not break. Right? So it is what it is. But you know what's funny is that Andre Ward used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
They'll say break, Remember Kessler? He would like churn him, and then from the opposite end, he would throw the hook. You could do that. Like I know people. I mean, it's what it is. Now the issue I had with that fight was the headbutts. But it is what it is.
He mugged poor Kessler in Oakland.
But like he manhandled him. But I'm gonna tell you right now, people need to know this, bro. Everyone keeps talking about how little Lomachenko is, a little dude, and he knocked out big ass Nakatani, dominated him. He beat up all these other lightweights who were a lot bigger than him. Linares is about the same size as Haney, bro. About the same size. Handled him, right? It was a tough fight for a little bit, but he ended up stopping him. Lomachenko has practiced judo, sambo, okay, martial arts. This dude knows what to do with a clinch.
Yeah,
the Haneys know that. You know, they know this, right? That's why he knows how to fight off a clinch, and there is an art to that. Miguel Cotto is one of the last fighters that knew how to do it, right? How did he do it? Well, first of all, Cotto had short arms, right? And he would use that to his advantage. When guys try to hold him, they paid the price, right? In fact, Cotto preferred you try to hold him than keep punching him the way Margarito did. He would rather you try to punch, try to hold. Even Mayweather at some point stopped trying to hold him. All right. So I do think Loma will be okay. Loma's not this little fragile guy that, I mean, people talk about him like he's still a featherweight. Like, and I think, can you make an argument he can still fight at 130? Probably. But this idea that he's really a 126 pounder right now, I don't buy it.
And he doesn't want to fight at 130. He wants to fight at 135 for a reason. One, the bigger fights are there. And two, he feels like he can take advantage of it. It's like when we talk about Canelo. We like Canelo, but there's no excuse you lost at 175 to Bivol. You went up there and you fought the fight. And
Canelo is having a, bro, besides Bivol, right? Because Bivol's footwork is really good, right? Yeah. But besides Bivol, Canelo enjoyed an advantage with the footwork against the bigger guys. Yeah. It was the small, like Amir Khan gave him problems because his little ass had quick feet. Okay? Now, eventually caught him and knocked him out, but Lara, quick feet. Trout, quick feet. Right? Mayweather, quick feet. He had more trouble at 154 than he did at 168. And you could argue he was a better fighter. Like when he was at 160, he was probably a better fighter, right? But he's enjoying certain advantages, maybe besides the Bivol fight. There's going to be exceptions. But he just is. Yeah. Like they said, Plant had great footwork, and Canelo handled it just fine.
Yeah. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate everybody in the chat. And y'all get those X's up in the chat and get us to 40 likes again today. So appreciate everybody coming through. Good to see some good faces in there. 50. Shoe Shine's in there. Make sure you're following him, subscribing to him. Our guy Haplo is in there. I saw he did a live last week. Watched it. Good to see a good boxing mind and Haplo type in the building as well. Always good to see.
Right. He's okay.
Friendly faces. Faces. You hating on Haplo. That's my guy. Haplo's my guy. Look, somebody alluded to the betting odds. Why is Haney a significant favorite going into this fight? He's up to minus 280. Lomachenko's plus 240. This is the betting odds right here. Let me see if I get our faces in here at the top. No, it's fine.
I can't believe it. It's the odds are better for Lomachenko by stoppage than Haney by stop. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, and look, Haney by decision is minus 165. That's what Vegas sees playing out. Lomachenko by decision is plus 330. Look, fellas, anytime I see Lomachenko significantly in the plus, I'm just going to jump on it. Like, it's too much value to me. I know these guys who play the parlays, they just bet the favorites, 4 or 5 of them, and hit on their parlays, but you got to bet a lot of money for that. I'm one of the bettors that I'd rather put a little bit money down on a value play at the pluses in Lomachenko plus 330 by decision. I just think there's way too much value in that. You were talking about a possible scenario in which you see Lomachenko possibly winning by late stoppage. Why not put a little bit down on plus 800? Plus 800 Lomachenko.
I can't believe that it's plus 500 for Haney by stoppage, so plus 800 for Loma by stoppage.
And that's what I'm talking about as far as value, because I can't envision a scenario in which I see Haney winning by knockout. I just can't envision it. I can't envision that at all. We can both envision a scenario in which Lomachenko possibly catches Haney with a Linares type punch late. I don't think it's going to happen, but I can envision it. I just like Lomachenko by decision plus 330 here because I'm not saying Lomachenko is going to win the fight. Once again, I just see value in it. I look at it up as like the stock market. Why not put a little bit of money down on a first ballot Hall of Famer who is past his prime, but he's not washed yet, fellas. He's not washed yet. At least I don't think. We're going to find out. But Haney is a over 3-1 favorite. Actually, I think it's right around 3-1 favorite right now. 3-1. And why do we think that is? I just think it's recency bias. It's the last 3 fights, and if you can put that, there it is. The last 3 fights, last 4 fights, Haney's been on a run. He's been on a run. And Lomachenko, I think the Teofimo loss, him stepping up in that fight, that was his last big step up. I think that's still fresh in their minds. And I think the Jermaine Ortiz fight is fresh in the minds of the odds makers. And why do I think that? There's a reason they picked Jermaine Ortiz for that fight to prep him for Devin Haney. It's Jermaine Ortiz keeps the left hand low, uses the up jab, keeps the right hand high. He mirrors Haney in a lot of ways. He's a poor man's Devin Haney. Doesn't
more power
as well. Not as fast with the straight right as Devin Haney. And he gave Lomachenko issues. But once again, are we reading too much into a guy who had some clear ring rust, was dealing with some stuff in his country? It's a lot to put in the hopper. It's a lot. And when I put all of this in the pot, stir it up, I see value in Lomachenko plus 330.
Do you remember when we were talking about, it was an ATP show. It was actually right before it was right before the Teofimo fight. And I said, my philosophy sometimes when I pick fights, I use a philosophy of margin of error, right? Mm-hmm. What's the margin of error that an opponent has? Like if you take their best shot, how much is it going to affect you versus how you affect them? And I felt like, like Loma he was a better amateur. You can see he's a more skilled fighter than Teo. I conceded that, but I said stylistically, Teo makes up with it because he has more of a margin of error to work with. Uh-huh. Where Loma had to be more perfect, right? No one's perfect, but he had to be better. He had a smaller margin of error in that fight. And it showed. That's why he fought the way he fought for the first 7 rounds, right? He didn't want to take the risk that Teo was willing to take because he was younger, he was brash, he was confident, undefeated, right? I think the confidence played a big role, but also he felt more confident. He could take the power of Loma. And a question they used to ask on HBO to a lot of fighters that they don't ask anymore, right? Maybe it's too basic or whatever, but I always found it fascinating. But I remember specifically it was Trinidad versus Mayorga, right? Mm-hmm. And it kept talking about who hits harder, right? And I think it was Lennox Lewis that said, it doesn't matter who hits harder. What matters is who could take the other's punch, right? Yeah. So then they asked them, right? Like they asked them both, like, Mayorga, do you think you could take his punch better than you could take your punch? And they asked the same question to Trinidad, right? And both of them, of course, we know what they both said, right? Like I could take his punch, you can't take mine, like whatever, right? I don't know why anybody would take that bet against Trinidad, but whatever, right? But what I'm saying is, in this fight, it's the other way. Uh-huh. I think Loma has a bigger margin of error to work with. Like he can get hit, and we're comparing it to chess. They're not taking your queen anymore when you get hit. They're taking a pawn.
I'll flip that on you though. Lomachenko has a lot of pressure coming into this fight.
That's different. But I see
but I think this is a key factor is Lomachenko has said it in the lead up. This is my last chance for Undisputed. His window is starting to close. Devin Haney already has the accomplishment of Undisputed, and he's 24 years old. And he's got a long career ahead of him. And he was on the pivot earlier this week saying with Ryan Clark saying, look, I believe in the UFC culture. The reason I'm taking risk is a loss isn't the end of the world. It shouldn't be the end of the world. I think he's one of those fighters that he doesn't view a loss the same way as other fighters. I really do believe that about him. Like, if he loses a fight, we lose a fight, we move on. We got other big fights out there at 140 or wherever.
You're talking about the Devin Haney
there's
interview?
a lot more pressure on Lomachenko, given that the Teofimo fight was a big fight and he fell short. And he didn't look good in that fight. And he didn't look good.
I agree that they both had pressure. Let me just put that. But here's the thing. I saw Devin Haney's interview. I mean, look, it's funny because we're saying the same thing, right? Don't worry about the loss. Come back stronger. Look at Adesanya. He's a bigger star now, even though he lost. And yeah, but why is Haney all of a sudden talking about losing and how losing is not a big deal? All of a sudden. All of a sudden, he never talks about losing. I'll never lose to a white boy. I'll never lose to this dude. I'm the best. Everybody's running from me. I'm Floyd Mayweather incarnate. And right before this fight, all of a sudden, losing's not really that big of a deal, really. I mean, really, you know what I mean? Like, if you lose, you can right back in the saddle, and it's no big deal.
You think he's hedging?
I think he is hedging. Yes. Because all of a sudden, he even said out of his mouth, I think Mayweather ruined everything. What's going on? And then he walked it back a little bit. He walked it back. He's like, I mean, for Floyd made the sport bigger, but he kind of like ruined it. Like, it's just like, I'm just saying, bro, like, he wasn't talking like he wasn't saying stuff like that. Like with that bodybuilder, he didn't say like, oh, well, anything could happen in a fight if I lose, I lose. No, he was saying, I'll beat your ass, bro. Right? With Jojo, he wasn't saying, oh man, well, if I lose, I lose. Like I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like, that made me question, like, well, why are you talking about losing all of a sudden on the lead up to a fight, bro? This isn't between fights. This isn't like in a discussion months before a fight. This is on the lead up to the biggest fight of your life. You're not going to catch Lomachenko dead saying, oh, it's okay if I lose. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Loma will not say, even though
he won't even admit he lost the other two fights he lost.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, you wouldn't catch Mayweather dead saying, okay, like, if I lose, I lose. Like you wouldn't catch him saying it, bro. You wouldn't catch Canelo saying it. Canelo still says, I would have beaten Mayweather in the rematch. He still says, I could beat Bivol. What do you mean? This shit ain't gonna end like this. I gotta get my get back, right? He's not saying, I mean, that's no big deal. You know what I mean? Look at Adesanya. He's a big star. I could be a bigger star. No, like he's thinking about it. It's in his head. Losing is in his mind. For the first time in his career, it's in his head. He's thinking about it.
I don't know. I think a lot of the narratives Haney and Lomachenko are putting out are head games.
How do you go from I will never let a white boy beat me to this is not a big deal? I mean, if I lose,
I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is I think Haney and Lomachenko are playing head games with each other for the most part. And the Haney and Lomachenko super fans.
Well, he's going from white man can't jump. White man can't jump to, well, if he dunks it on me, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's only 2 points if he dunks it on me. It's no big deal. And like all of a sudden, well, you're not going to say it unless you think that dude could dunk it on you, right?
All I'm saying is they're playing head games, and the Haney and Lomachenko super fans are grabbing the narratives that they're putting out there as head games and using them as hedges if their fighters lose. I think that's what's happening. I don't think Haney's hedging. Let me pull up these Compubox numbers, and people may not be able to see them clearly, but they obviously tell a story of the big numbers you're going to see is Lomachenko, huge power punch percentage lander. I mean, he lands a high percentage of power punches, 47.8%, I think it is. And the lightweight average is 38%, 35%. But Devin Haney, big time jabber, lands like 1/4 of his jabs. And on top of that, his defensive numbers are insane. I mean, there's this plus minus that they go by. And The plus minus means how many punches are you landing per round more than your opponents. And Devin Haney is landing more than 12 punches per round over his opponents. And half of his punches thrown are jabs. So that's what's in play here is it's Devin Haney's jab against Lomachenko's power percentage. Will Lomachenko be able to keep his hands free, find that range to where he can get comfortable, throw combination punches, and land almost half of his power shots in order to land those equalizer punches that will hurt Devin Haney and turn the fight on its head. That's the story here. It's Devin Haney's defense versus Lomachenko's output and particularly his power percentage.
People are underestimating. We're talking about a 2-time gold medalist. Haney couldn't even make the Olympic team. Okay? So I get what you're saying about output.
Why you keep hating on Haney? What is this?
I get this because this idea that Loma could only win by output, I'm not buying it, bro. I think he could outbox Haney.
Yeah.
I think he can outbox this kid. I do. I don't think, I'm just saying, Haney was getting outboxed by JoJo at times, bro. I think people over-exaggerate that win. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really close. It was 8-4 in my scorecard, but he couldn't land a jab to save his life against JoJo. He's going to be fighting a much better, faster southpaw in this fight. People want to keep bringing up Jermaine Ortiz. Bring up JoJo. JoJo's a little dude too, right? He came up from 126. JoJo lost to Gary Russell in more convincing fashion than he did Haney, in my opinion, if I'm honest. So, yes, Loma can also use a high output and stuff like that, of course. All the above. But all I'm saying is, this is a 2-time gold medalist, a dominant. He was the fighter of the Olympics. I believe on both. It might have just been one, but Haney couldn't even make the American Olympic team. He could outbox Devin Haney. It's possible.
This is what I want to hear. I want to hear D-Style say, I'm betting confidently Lomachenko plus 800 stop.
Oh, I'm going to put money on Loma.
Say what Santiago is saying right here. Loma is getting back to Lomachenko. That's what I want to hear.
But I know about that, but I think he has a good chance of winning. I'm leaning Haney controversial decision right now. That's why I'm leaning. Mm-hmm. But I might change my mind. We'll see tonight on the round table.
Fight, though, before we get to some of the undercard fights that we've been neglecting, because this is a great card. I love this fight because there are factions on both sides. There are people out there, and people who necessarily don't find themselves under either tent that think, look, Lomachenko's a great fighter, but I think he's overrated. And it could be fair. Some of these criticisms are fair. And you have the faction out there who could be Lomachenko fans, could be not, just unbiased boxing fans that say, I think Devin Haney's overrated. I don't necessarily think he would translate to 140. I think he's using his size at 135. I think he had a weak undisputed run. So we're going to start to figure things out in this fight. Because if Haney beats Lomachenko, I don't want to hear anything about the size and all that stuff. That's put to rest. He's a great fighter now. And he's a top 10 pound-for-pound fighter. And on top of that, if Lomachenko beats Haney after everything he's done in his career, bookends it with undisputed at 135, there's no more question of, is this guy a first ballot Hall of Famer? He enters that new discussion of the best fighters pound for pound of the 21st century, right? Because I don't like doing the top 100. And I got the Bird Sugar book, top 100 pound for pound fighters of all time. It's just so hard to do that. The past 23 years I would go off of, past 25 years, Lomachenko would enter that discussion of top 10, top 15 pound for pound fighters of that era. And there would also be no more discussion on if he's a top 10 pound for pound fighter currently. Because
look, I don't want the Haney fans to get mad at me, bro. Look, I said he beat JoJo on my scorecard. So somebody in chat said, well, how's that close? You had it 8-4. Well, that's my scorecard. But I had a lot of close rounds to give Haney. Now, I feel Haney won those rounds, right? I'm not going to give him to JoJo. I don't think JoJo won those rounds. But I thought they were very close, right? I know some people that had it 7-5. But then when I hear people say things like, "Oh, Haney won 11-1," like I don't. That's not the fight I saw.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, and I think it's people trying to force that on Haney. Bro, Haney might just be, and I promise everybody, this is not an insult. People are gonna take it like I'm insulting him. It's not. But he could very well be the Corey Spinks of this era.
Corey Spinks is a good fighter, by the way.
Corey might be the best son, like, of a former world champion ever.
Remember Emmanuel Stewart yelling at Jermaine Taylor in
what are you doing?
We should not have fought this guy. I told you not to fight this guy. That's Corey Spinks. It's a good fighter.
Corey Spinks, Zab Judah knocked him out. What does Zab Judah have? He had speed, brother, and he had power. Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And this right here, did you guys talk about the mole accusation? I don't want to hear anything about moles anymore. Mole accusations.
Like Haney, like, he just reminds me of guys like Mike Jones, like Corey Spinks, you know, like he just good pure boxers, but but then like this is not Pernell Whitaker is what I'm telling people.
Yeah.
Now look, I'm on record saying this. If Haney goes out there and he just outclasses and watches Lomachenko, then I need to reassess my opinion about Haney. At that point, I would say, you know what?
Yeah,
Haney is.
We're not afraid to do that here, right?
Yeah, like I will concede the point, but this is why we fight the fights. I need to see it happen.
This is why we like these fights. Is we're going to learn things. And HLB saying many folks are scared of confidently predicting Loma for the win because they're at the Haney fans. That doesn't happen here. We can tell you that. The reason I tiptoe around this and say, you know, I'm just going to approach it as this as a betting guy and just pick the value of Lomachenko plus 330 by decision is I see value in it, but I just don't. I love fights like this. I talked about it. Plant versus Benavidez was another one. I love fights where I can't like confidently say who I think is going to win. Like I could see this going many different directions. I could see.
I had Benavidez winning the fight. I said Benavidez by late stoppage in that fight.
Yeah,
but I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to bet my mortgage on it. Confident, you know what I mean? Like this, you know what I mean? Like we all make predictions, and we're going to see, man. Like, look, there has been fighters that have shown me, like, damn, I wasn't a believer in Tyson Fury. This dude was uppercutting himself in the face, struggling against Steve Cunningham, got dropped by Steve Cunningham. Like there was other fights were questionable. He did kind of struggle a little bit with Chisora in the first fight. Did dominate the second fight, but it's like, okay, it took him 2 cracks. I didn't think he was going to be Vladimir Klitschko. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I picked Wilder to beat him the first time. I said, this dude was fat, out of shape, coming back from fucking surgery. Like, well, not surgery. I mean, from being a cokehead, and he's going to come back. And then I'm like, he's going to get hit with that right hand again. But this time it's going to be by Wilder, right? So I've been wrong before, right? But Haney might prove me wrong. Like, Haney might just – look, I picked Ward to beat Kovalev. I didn't pick him to win by stoppage. You know what I mean? So, of course, guys can surprise us, and boxing is a theater of the unexpected, so we'll see, right? But here's the deal, right? I don't think Haney could stop him. But I'm just being honest. I don't think he could do it. And the people picking him by stoppage, you've been picking him by stoppage for the last 5 fights. He hasn't done it. So
I can confidently say that's not going to – I just –
He couldn't stop Gamboa. Gamboa's been stopped multiple times. He couldn't even drop him. Gamboa's been dropped like 14 times.
That would shock me. That one would shock me. If Haney, that's the one result in all of it, that would shock me. Haney by stoppage.
Couldn't stop Linares. Couldn't stop Gamboa. Both guys been stopped multiple times, dropped multiple times, been stopped in different fashions, right? Like Linares been stopped to the body. He's been stopped with 1-punch knockouts. Right. He's been stopped with cuts. So there's multiple ways you could have stopped this dude, but you were in survival mode for the last 3 rounds. And by the way, that's another fight where I think I gave Linares 5 rounds in that fight.
5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He won every round after he hurt him. And I think I gave him like at least 2 before that. I would have to go back, but if it wasn't 5, it was 4.
Yeah, they won some rounds. But I want to get to some of these other undercard fights. This is the one you and I do not see eye to eye on, right here. Junto Nakatani. When Andrew Maloney bends the knee to Junto Nakatani.
This is proof. They're fucking high. Look at this. 420, they're high as fuck.
You know, that's intelligence is what it is. It's intelligence.
They're high as fuck.
Knowing what's going on at Super
I was going to bet on Maloney, but then I got high.
You know, I love Chocolatito. I love Gallo Estrada. He's growing on me. He's arguably, I mean, there are people out there arguing he's the greatest Mexican fighter of the past decade. I mean, he's put together quite a resume. I wouldn't make that argument, but he's up there.
Okay.
Bam has moved down to 112. Josh Franco, you know, he's there. He's up there.
Ioka, they're going to fight.
Ioka, they're fighting again in a rematch. I would argue Junto Nakatani is the best of the bunch at super flyweight right now. 25 years old, entering his prime.
The best? Number 1?
Long arms. Yeah, I wouldn't put him number 1 right now in the rankings. That's not what I'm saying. I just think.
You think he beats Gallo right now?
I think he does. Long arms, southpaw, fast hands, versatile footwork.
No.
When he defeats Andrew
if you think
Maloney
he beats Gallo,
Saturday,
I can't tell you nothing.
Listen to me. When he defeats Andrew Maloney on Saturday, when he forces Maloney to bend the knee, D-Style will bend the knee with him. He will bend the knee with him to Junto Nakatani, the new guy, 25 years old, at super flyweight, future star from Japan. When he forces Andrew Maloney to bend the knee, D-Style falls with him. D-Style, the voice of Australian boxing here in America, the face of Australian boxing here in America, D-Style boxing, will fall with Andrew Maloney on Saturday as Junto Nakatani triumphantly wins and makes a statement victory as a 4-1 favorite.
Well, he didn't get to stop his last fight, but he's going to stop Maloney?
He's going to stop Maloney late in this fight. Look, I understand Maloney's a good fighter. He's a hell of a fighter.
Franco could have stopped Maloney.
Look, close losses to Josh Franco. Josh Franco, we're both high on Josh Franco. We like him. We both. I thought Josh Franco beat Ioka in Japan, and I think he'll beat him.
Well,
again.
there you go.
It came out a draw. But what's your rebuttal for Andrew Maloney? Why do you see Andrew Maloney beating Junto Nakatani, who's a stud?
Well, first of all, this is super flyweight now, right? So that's number 1. So that's number 1. This is Andrew's like natural weight class. That's number 1. Let's start off with that. Andrew, I think people are making a lot of the Franco losses. For those that don't know,
too much, yeah.
Franco was a golden boy fighter, and Maloney was a top ranked fighter. Top ranked were pretty confident he could beat Franco, obviously. So they loaned him from golden boy. They did the fight. They fought 3 times, right? And obviously Franco came out on top of that, right? But first of all, we cannot discount the experience that Andrew got out of that, right? And I think people are overestimating the losses. Like I think Franco is a better fighter. I think he's a better fighter than Nakatani. I think Franco has really good speed, good power. He's an all-around fighter in that division. He's a little overshadowed from his brother Bam. I think most people would agree Bam is a more special fighter than Joshua Franco, but it doesn't mean Franco's not good, right? And it's not even a guarantee that Bam would beat Franco, quite frankly.
Right.
Not that I want the brothers to fight. You know, we don't need to do that. But we saw thanks to Mikey Garcia, shout out to him. We got to see that fight through a cell phone, and I think Franco looked good in that fight. He surprised me, bro. I picked Ioka to stop him, so I was wrong about that fight. But like Franco showed me a lot in that fight.
Yeah, he did.
And what that tells me is, well, I understand we don't do triangle theory in boxing, but that
Those
shows you the
losses age
quality
better.
of Andrew Maloney.
Right.
Like Andrew Maloney is being severely undervalued in this fight, in my opinion. First of all, he's inspired by his brother, right? Just won the world title, and they want to become world champions together, right? In the same week. Okay, they'll be the first brothers together ever in Australia to be world champions. So he's got that inspiration. He just saw his brother do it, right? So he's got a system behind him, top ranked support behind him. So he has a system behind him, right? The training's been great. No injuries that I know of, right? I think he's healthy. So we got to take that into account. This is natural weight class. Good jab. Good timing. Good uppercut. I think he has a really underrated uppercut. I think he's gonna smack Nakatani with it a couple times. He's gonna fight a very patient fight, but I think he pulls off with a split or unanimous decision. I think he runs away with it.
Whoa! So you like Maloney? I like Nakatani. So here's what I want to do: next week's show, aftermath. If Nakatani beats Maloney, which will happen, you have to apologize to all of Japan. Just apologize to Japan. Apologize to Junto Nakatani and his team and say, I was wrong. I picked it wrong. And if Maloney wins, I'll apologize to all of Australia. And I'll apologize to the face of Australian boxing here in America and say, I was wrong. D-Star got it right. D-Star got it right. He was
formal
in his knowledge of.
Well, here's the thing. So here's the thing. You will apologize, but I will write the apology for you.
Okay.
You have to read it.
And I'll write the apology for you.
Okay. Fine.
To all of Japan, to Junto Nakatani and his team, and to our viewers for getting the beautiful super flyweight division wrong.
We're going to get that. We're going to get the heat that the athletes and the celebrities get when they're reading off of what the lawyer gave them. But we're going to do it. I'll read the formal apology that Calix will write out for me.
Yeah.
No problem.
This is another fight. This is a fight I like. This is going to be a bloodbath right here. This is going to be a war. Wow. Muratala versus Nakathilia. Nakathilia is known for best for his win against Berchelt, coming off the Shakur Stevenson loss. But here's the thing. Nakathilia's been 14, 15 months since he fought. And he's a one-handed fighter. He's got a right hand. Berchelt it just looked to me like Berchelt was completely washed after that Valdez fight, and he was just there to get hit. But Nakathilia showed he can bang, and he showed why Shakur Stevenson laid up in that fight, right? Because Shakur Stevenson won every single round on every scorecard. We were wondering at the time, why in the world is this guy not stepping on it? It's because Nakathilia can bang with that right hand. But I think that's too limited from Muratala, who, and I'm probably butchering his last name, but a hell of a fighter. If you haven't watched him go, he's exciting. He's got, I think it's 8 out of the last 9 victories have been knockouts. And on top of that, he just fought like 7-8 weeks ago. So he's a guy who's hyperactive as compared to Nakathilia. This is a step-up fight for him. And I think the reason they put Nakathilia in there is sort of a barometer to guys like Berchelt, but also because he's so inactive. And they feel like he can jump on Nakathilia here. I like him by knockout. I think he's going to win this fight in a war by knockout.
You got Nakathilia by knockout?
No. Really? Muratala by knockout. And I'm probably butchering his name. Muratala.
No, you're right that he is more active. I believe Santel had mentioned that he trains out of with Robert Garcia, right? So that's going to be very interesting, unless I got that wrong. I believe he is.
And I hope this fight isn't off because I'm hearing rumors that he wasn't at the press conference. I'm hoping this fight's not off.
The thing with Nakathilia, like you could neutralize him. You know what I mean? Like Stevenson did it, but he did it in his own way. Like nobody liked the fight, but to be honest, it was the perfect fight to fight against him. Nakathilia couldn't do anything. And I think later on we found out why. Like it was like, so that's why he was like extra precautious in that fight. Maybe too precautious, to be honest, but I guess better safe than sorry. That's when Stevenson was being too precautious, right? But Look, I'll be a liar if I said I'm confident on who's going to win this fight. But I'm going to roll with Muratala because he's got the trainer. They're going to have a game plan, and he's been active. So
yeah, hopefully this fight is still going
it's going
on.
to take Nakathilia like 2-3 rounds just to get the cobwebs off, and he might have some new cobwebs with punches landed. So
this is a fan-friendly fight. This is great, Matt. We had a matchmaker on yesterday. This is great matchmaking right here.
Mhm.
And I hope the fight's still on because I'm starting to hear some things, but I hope it's still on. The other fight, this is a co-main, Oscar Valdez versus Adam Lopez. You see anything turning out different? Adam Lopez looks like a different fighter than the first matchup 4 years ago. You see anything different that could happen?
I'd like to fight.
You just
I'd
don't
like
like
to fight
it?
at all. I think Valdez wins pretty easily.
You
Might
don't
stop
think he's
him.
going to get knocked down again in this fight? Nothing you see like that?
Actually, no. I think Valdez, working with Reynoso, they're well in sync together now, and I think he's going to have this is a fight to get Valdez back in the winning column and do it in spectacular fashion. And they're going to use it as like a barometer, right? Like, when he fought Adam Lopez the last time, it was a tougher fight, but now this time he beat him in more convincing fashion. That shows us the improvement about it. Like they're going to be hammering that shit home throughout the fight. Like that's going to be the story that they're going to be telling us during it. And I'm not crazy about the fight. I don't even like it as a co-main. Like I don't mind it on the card, but
I'd rather Nakatani versus Maloney on the co-main.
Yeah, that should be the co-main all day.
That's a disrespect to the lighter weight classes is what it is. I mean,
yeah, that one's for a world title, right? That's my opinion. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Now, what I want to just to circle back to the main event because we went through the undercard. If you're Lomachenko in his corner, what are you telling him today leading up to this fight? Or what are you telling him right before the fight? What are your keys to victory for Lomachenko against Haney?
I will tell him this. And it's going to sound very generic, but I believe this. Use your God-given gifts.
Mm-hmm.
What brought you to the dance? Don't overthink it. Don't change anything because for this fight you may have to switch it up or be who you are. Be the guy that won those gold medals. Be the guy that won those world titles. Be that guy. Approach this fight like you do a Comey or whatever. Just go in there and execute. That's what I'll tell them. Go in there and execute because that's your best chance. All right. Now, any details, I'll just tell. I think he's got it. He knows what to do. If I'm there, make sure you fight off the clinch. He knows that. He shouldn't be doing those things instinctively, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The worst thing Loma could do is overthink it. Because when the last time he did that, it backfired. Don't overthink. Don't do it. The last 2 times you overthought it, you ran out of time. Don't run out of time this time.
Yeah. And JC wants you to be Teddy Atlas. He didn't feel motivated. He wants to hear motivation. He wants to hear that Rocky
for
speak.
what?
We're firemen. We're firemen.
We're fire. Like, no, here's the thing. In all seriousness,
we run to the fire.
Like, here's the thing. We're gonna run to the fire, right? And we're gonna burn, baby. Let me tell you something. We're gonna make some money with Maloney. We're gonna make some money. I'm just saying, 3-1. Woo.
Inversely, you're Haney. You're in his camp. What are you telling Haney? What's his keys to victory? To me, it's pretty simple. What's his keys to victory? Make it as boring as possible, right?
Don't worry about the crowd. They're not paying your bills. That's what I'll tell them. We love the booze. Okay? We'll tell them, bring on the booze. We love the booze. We keep booing, right? Stall the action. As many breaks in the action as possible. But I would also tell them, try not to be excessive because they're really making a big deal about your holding. And it's possible if you do it too much early, the ref will start warning you early and then start threatening to take a point, and that could impact the whole game plan. So hold, but you don't necessarily need to hold until the ref says break, right? Yeah. Hold enough to turn them and you get out of the way and then get back on the outside. And also keep it on the outside with the jab as long as possible. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and the thing with this fight, and I agree with you, try to make it as boring as possible if you're Haney. But here's the thing with Haney. I'll just go back to it, is when Haney fights exciting fighters who are themselves when they fight them. Linares made that fight exciting in spots. Jojo Diaz made that fight exciting in spots. So if those guys can do it, if they can take Haney out of that game plan and speed him up a little bit, Lomachenko can do it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be this stink fest that some people are suggesting it will be. I think there will be trades in this fight. I think the referee is going to try to speed the fight up a little bit and force Haney to, if they start hearing boos, force Haney to fight, and there will be trades. So Kambosos was not able to make it an exciting fight. He just wasn't. He wasn't able to go to that spot to where he couldn't get held. He just wasn't special enough, right? He just wasn't special enough to do it. He wasn't special enough to maintain throwing combination punches, force his way out of clinches. Lomachenko is going to be able to do those things. And this is going to end up being, I think, a more fun fight than people are, more entertaining fight than people are expecting in spots. So that would be my advice to Lomachenko, is you're going to tell who's having more success in this fight by how entertaining it is. If we're sitting there 3-4 rounds in and we're getting up, getting food, getting popcorn, getting beer instead of watching the fight, it's a Haney type fight, right?
Yes, but here's the other message for Haney.
It's a Lomachenko fight.
Yeah, look, I have another message for Haney. So, you know, all that talk about, oh, yeah, Adesanya, he lost and he's bigger than ever, and this guy, he's this and that. Those guys are exciting. If you fight the way you fight, you can't afford to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually better for Haney if it becomes an exciting fight.
Yeah.
If it becomes an exciting fight and he wins, it's better for him. If Lomachenko does what I believe he'll do, at least make it exciting because of the pressure he's going to put on, not allow Haney to hold him, similar to like Canelo didn't allow Caleb Plant to hold him. If he could pull that off, it's going to force Haney to get more offensive. And if Haney wins that way, that will do wonders for Haney. And if he loses that way,
right? You want to look vulnerable in order to draw people in, right?
Not only you want to be vulnerable in the sense of a great fighter brought it out of you. We're seeing your vulnerabilities because someone made it come out, right? Like I don't want people to confuse that with, oh, we just wanted to go out there and rock them, sock them. Like that's how people interpret that. You know what I mean? No, like I think organically, if he can force Haney to fight, and Haney starts fighting back and wins that way, that will show us a new dimension to Haney that maybe we don't think he has, but maybe he does. He's just been waiting to show it, but he could have that B-Hop philosophy. B-Hop always had a philosophy like, I'm not just going to give it to you. You got to take it from me, right? Yeah. And he may that might just be a thing. We may just see that, right? But I don't think he's got it like that. I just don't. I think he's going to try to make it as boring as possible. But if you try to make it as boring as possible and then you lose anyway, like not engaging, but like if you're not engaging and Lomachenko's outboxing you, that's like Haney needs to understand you're losing fans on both fronts. Like you're losing, but then you're also not giving them a reason to want to watch you again, right? So there's a gamble in life and in boxing, right? It's a little riskier. It's a little more dangerous if you try to be exciting, right? Or if you're forced to get exciting, it's more dangerous by definition. But the whole idea of, oh, those will come back, those will support me, is when you are exciting.
Yeah.
You can't be boring and lose.
You can't be Klitschko and lose.
You can't do it.
You got to be Klitschko and win.
It's just the way it is.
You can't be Mayweather and lose. You got to be Mayweather and win.
He could have been pretty. He could have been Pretty Boy. Pretty Boy Floyd could have lost, and people still showed up. But when he reached that point, right, where like the same Mayweather that like took a lap around the ring against Robert Guerrero, and you're thinking to yourself, you just let boxers do for 12 rounds, and you're playing like super safe, like running around the ring. You know what I mean? Like if Robert Guerrero's gonna land the shot from the heavens and knock you out or something, like what the like. But he could get away with it because he was dominating and winning. So what the fuck are we going to do about it?
It's like Nothing. Tom Brady, right? Like Tom Brady doesn't make the throws Peyton Manning or Dan Marino made, but he wins. He's a boring guy. He's just a boring guy, but he wins.
I'll tell you right now, bro. Like Cotto brought a vulnerability out of Floyd.
Yeah.
Right? That Floyd clearly won that fight, but he looked vulnerable. His nose was bleeding. He was getting busted up a little bit, right? And then kind of forced Mayweather after the fight to say, "Oh yeah, I really want to give the fans a great fight." No, he didn't.
Yeah,
Cotto was busting you up, right? Now I don't see what the big deal is because it wasn't. It's not in Mayweather's makeup to say, "Yeah, he was giving me a tough fight and I had to make some adjustments to beat him." He'll rather say, "I didn't have to make adjustments or nothing. I just, I decided to give you guys a great fight, right?" Hopkins was doing that later in his career, right? Like against Pascal, I wanted to give you guys a great fight. At age 45, you made this decision. Yeah. All of a sudden, you want to be Arturo Gatti at age 45. No, you were getting hit more. You were more vulnerable. That was different because that was age, right? So it's a little different. But I'm just saying, we're going to see what happens in this fight, and the question will be answered. Is Haney closer to Spinks or Mayweather?
Yeah. And
so in the middle.
Probably, I think we both agree the truth to be probably closer to Spinks, right? I think. But if he beats Lomachenko decisively in this fight, he beats Lomachenko at all in this fight. I don't care if it's controversial or not. He enters the top 10 pound for pound. I mean, I don't see how you keep him out at that.
If this is a competitive fight that could go either way, and the judges give it to Loma, he's pound for pound still, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I know where Loma's going to go. They're going to put Loma number 1, bro. They're going to put him top 3, at least.
Yeah.
They're going to put him there. I'm not saying you agree with that. I'm saying that's where they have him number 7 or some shit right now.
Would there be an argument? Would there be an argument, though? Here's my argument for Lomachenko still being in.
Well, I have to see the fight, but yeah.
But by the way, I don't have Lomachenko in mind, and I have Haney in mind. So, but here's the argument for it. And I made this argument for Ring Magazine for them because precedent sets this is Lomachenko and every big publication had him number 1 or number 2 in their pound for pound. It was Lomachenko, it was Bud. Canelo before the run was, some people had him 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there, but that was the 3. But most people had Lomachenko 1 or 2. There is no precedent for a pound for pound champion losing and dropping all the way out the rankings. It's just not there. Pacquiao losing to Marquez, he stayed in the rankings. Pacquiao even losing to Bradley, he stayed in the rankings. Bernard Hopkins losing to Jermaine Taylor, he stays in the rankings.
Yep.
Canelo losing to Bivol, he stays in the rankings. Chocolatito losing to Soran Vise, back to back, he stays in the rankings.
I just think, Calix, in my opinion,
still in the rankings. I think that's fair.
But here's what I want to say. I think Haney, this is the hypothetical. If he wins, I agree with you. He's definitely pound for pound. That's not a question to me. But what I'm proposing is if Haney loses, but it's a very competitive fight that could go either way, right? He's still like that should put him in a pound for pound because losing to Lomachenko in a fight that could go either way, like just the 3 judges just decided to give it to one guy, but it could have gone either way. That's more impressive than beating Ryan Garcia, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So why is tanking the top 10, but you're not going to put Haney there?
I agree.
That's my opinion, but
no, I agree.
And if Loma loses, by the way, you got to get him out of the top 10.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like if Loma loses, he's out the top 10 pound for pound, and we start to have cash out start conversations, right? Like, do you cash them? Do you just feed them to Shakur Stevenson at that point? Do you
I
feed
think it
them
goes
to the
back down
other
to
side?
130.
Do you feed them to the other side? You know, do you start to have those conversations of
Yeah,
Lomachenko?
Michaelis, if you're Loma, right? Like if you're Lomachenko, especially if he looks like he could retire for all we know too. Like, we don't know. But let's say he looks respectable. Let's say he loses to Haney, but it's like a competitive 8-4, 7-5 type fight. You go back down to 130, and I think there's a lot of winnable fights there for him. I think he beats Valdez. I think he beats Cordina. That's a fight he could do. I think he beats Shock. I think he beats him too.
He ain't doing that though. He ain't going down there.
Well, I'm just saying, like there's a path there for him.
I know.
To become undisputed. Like if he wants to be undisputed, he could still do it. That's his opportunity right there.
Lomachenko is one of those fighters that's stubborn, and he has it in his mind. He wants to be lightweight, undisputed. He wants to be a lightweight fighter. He's a lightweight fighter. So I think
sounds familiar, right?
Right. Yeah, you're right. Sounds very familiar. But here's the thing as far as pound for pound. I don't necessarily – you got to look at the top of the pound for pound rankings right now is guys are leaving doors open. Bud hasn't fought since December, nothing announced. Errol Spence hasn't fought in 13 months. He's still sitting there at number 4.
They're supposedly going to fight in July is what I'm hearing on Instagram.
Josh Taylor's in there. What if he loses? Mel is still in there. I mean, Mel's not doing anything. Guys are leaving. Usyk is going to fight once a year again this year, probably.
Can I say something about the Crawford-Spence fight really quick?
Go ahead.
This is what I want to say about that fight. All right, hold on. Give me a second.
But
ready? Just stop, bro. Ohio runs boxing with the fight's gonna get made, guys. A source told me. Nah. Yeah, sure it is. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's not out of the question. Like if somebody puts Lomachenko, if he decisively beats Haney, is it out of the question with what we're seeing from the pound D style? If you look at Ring Magazine's top 10 pound for pound, they have a combined 2 fights so far. It's Canelo and Tank. That's the only people who have fought so far.
Yeah, but you're not taking into account a boxing year. You're talking about a rolling year. The new boxing year is 16 months.
Yeah, I know. You're right. But ultimately what I'm saying is Lomachenko has equity and he becomes undisputed at lightweight and he beats the younger fighter who's a 3-1 favorite, and you're saying you can't see a pathway to him being top 3 or 4 pound for pound. I'm telling you it's there and it's going to happen because if he wins that fight, because these other guys simply aren't doing enough, man. They're just not. They're not doing it. And I already know how this is going to go if Lomachenko wins the fight and he pops up at number 3 in Ring Magazine's pound for pound. I already know the narratives that are going to start. And I'm going to say, what else do you need the guy to do? Because none of these other guys seem to be doing anything. It's like what our guest told us yesterday. He's like, I still consider Canelo pound for pound king because these guys just simply aren't doing enough at the top. They're fighting once a year, baby.
This is where Loma's gone, bro. He's an underdog to a 23-year-old really good boxer, right? 3-1 underdog right now. And I'm just remembering this right now. I honestly felt about 4 years ago, I actually thought he was going to go to 140, and I thought he could mess with Taylor and Prograis. That's where I was with Loma. That's how highly I had him, right? So even to me, he's been dropped down a peg, right?
Yeah.
And for him to come close to that, he needs to win this fight.
Yeah.
And greats do it. This is his I'm going to show you how great I am moment. Haney's young. Haney could do what Canelo did. Canelo lost to Floyd, and he had years to make up for it, kind of, and bring himself back up to the pound for pound list, became number 1. The opportunity to fight Golovkin came, and he did it. So Haney can always bounce back, right? Loma's the hourglass, like the sand is like almost done. So he's got to do it now. He's got to do it ASAP. And he's injury prone. This is it. Like this is like where, like Ali once said, I'm going to show you how great I am. And this is why I love this fight.
Yeah,
because it's an opportunity to see greatness on both sides. Haney may prove me wrong and go out there and just annihilate Lomachenko and show us that he is a great fighter, right? It's not just, okay, like this is like a coronation for him, kind of. Like okay, you don't think, okay, fine, you guys said Kambosos was a weak champion. I'm gonna beating Loma just erases all that. And in Loma's case, it justifies a lot, bro. Yeah. It makes up for even his losses. It does. It makes up for it.
And that's the part I love is the age thing because, and you've spoken about this, I've spoken about it in the past, is aging athletes find a way to adapt. The great ones, the high level ones, the elite ones, they find a way to adapt and still win. Tom Brady, I'll bring him up again. He finds a way to win a championship with the Buccaneers. How? He just 5-and-out you to death. He adapts. Michael Jordan, what does he do? He learns a 15 to 18 fadeaway jumper, and he does that. He mid-range games you to death because he can't blow you by you anymore, and he wins 3 more championships. Is the great athletes find a way to adapt. Ali, he slows down, he rope-a-dopes and beats George Foreman. The great ones, they find a way to win these fights where,
they become more cerebral.
If Lomachenko wants to be in that conversation, he's got to win this fight.
They become more cerebral when they're older. And because, you could argue, like, I think Ali was better athletically in the 60s than he was in the 70s, but I don't know if the younger, brasher Ali beats Foreman. I don't know if he thinks about the rope-a-dope and thinks strategy and, okay, that's what I need to do to set him up. Or he probably goes in there and tries to just slug it out, like not slug it out, but activity, jab, jab, boom, boom. I'm going to overwhelm him like I did Sonny Liston, and then he gets caught by Foreman and knocked out. You know what I mean? So like, yes, like it's almost like a curve. You have your athletic prime, and then you have like your prime as a fighter.
Your intelligent prime too.
Yeah, like it's 2 different things. And when they're both at their peak, you're not at your best. It's somewhere in the middle. And I think that's where Loma's at right now.
Yeah, I think we both agree on that. And I'm betting Lomachenko plus 330 by decision. I just think he's undervalued there. And I see this as a toss-up fight due to many different factors. It's tough to call. So I'm taking the value there. Any final thoughts from you on just the whole card and just this fight?
Yeah, I'm trying to picture like what the fuck would Raleigh do to Loma? Like, I mean, somebody put it chat like nothing. Anybody beats Raleigh, bro. Haney beats Tank. Anybody beats him. But anyway, I don't have a lot of thoughts at the moment. Catch me tonight. Round table on my channel. Should be a great show. We have Ring IQ, Lady Chan, Low, Calix, Beeb, myself. Right. So it should be a great panel, great discussion, and we are good. And I just want just a very quick shout out to Gotti Ward. This is the anniversary of their fight back in 2002. Yeah. Round 9 is one. If you're new to boxing, just go watch the fight. Go watch it. That fight was so good. People don't even remember who won the fight because they don't care.
It's hard to believe that was 21 years ago. Good Lord.
That is amazing. Go watch that fight. That is a great fight. And also Progray's opponent got injured. And but he's calling out Barboza. Barboza was on Twitter. Oh, nobody wants to fight me. What's going on? Well, Progress is literally saying, here's my belt. I got the WBC strap. I want to give you an opportunity. Come on, let's step in the ring and let's do it. Right? I think that's a great fight, by the way.
I actually think that's a fight.
It's probably a more exciting fight. You could argue Barboza is more prepped and ready. It's probably more dangerous, like Calix said. So
no, it is.
And I don't need to see an Australian brother fall, so it's good for me. You know what I mean? So I told him to say, I'm like, hey, do you want to fight Progress right now? I don't know about that. It's like it's just No, but in all seriousness, look, it's a great fight. There's no excuse, bro. Barboza, take the fight. That's all I'm saying. You're saying nobody wants to fight you. You're here begging Teofimo to fight you for a year. Well, Progress is like, yo, I'm right here. It's a world title shot, bro.
Yeah.
That's what you prepare your whole life for, to get your shot. There's fighters that never get their shot. Or when they do, it's too late. You're in your prime, Barboza. You're in your prime, brother. Take the shot, bro. You got nothing to lose, literally. That's what I think.
Yeah. I agree with you on Gotti Ward. That fight from start to finish and culminating in the 9th round, and the referee's IQ and his instincts to know, I got to let this go. I just got to let this breathe, let it go, and let these guys just handle it. Just everything about that night was perfect. It was all perfect. And what it showed us was put on the fights. Just put on the fights. It doesn't have to be this high-quality, elite fight between the top 2 fighters. It's meaningful fights. It doesn't have to be for titles. Every single level of boxing, you could put on great fights. And if you just simply do it, we have what we had popping out 21 years ago. It was just an amazing night. I agree with you on Barboza. I think he should take that, and props to him if he does on short notice. I'm sure he's in shape. Take the fight, and he's out there saying he wants to fight, and I believe him. I believe he wants to fight. Hopefully the business side doesn't get in the way, right? Because you don't want to pay this guy peanuts either. I agree with that. But I hope everything.
If he gets paid the same as Paro, that's good.
Yeah, I agree. Take whatever money they were offering him, and that should work. You agree? I agree. It's a title shot. So hopefully they work that out. And as far as this fight, HLD's calling me out. And he's right. On ACP, we can't be half-stepping D-style. He's right. I'm going to pick Lomachenko. My instincts tell me the old dog is going to rise to the occasion on Saturday night, and he's going to win this fight. I don't know how it's going to play out. But all things being even, good scorecards, no controversy, no corruption, I think Lomachenko wins the fight. I'm going to go with Lomachenko on this one. I think he's a special fighter who can turn back.
I'll show you how great I am. That's his moment.
The great ones do it. The great ones adapt, and they win against their top peers. They do it. He's still got that window. I don't think he's washed yet. And I think the betting odds, I think the handicappers are reading too much into that last fight.
Yeah.
They're reading too much. On that note, we'll see y'all on the round table in a few hours on D-Styles channel.
Peace.
God bless. Thanks for all the likes. You got us to 50 likes. Again, that's the 3rd straight show. 50 likes live. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all coming through. God bless y'all. We never take y'all for granted. X, ACPX. Peace.